Hello and welcome to Calm the Pharm podcast, where pharmacy business meets legal wisdom, minus the headache. In each episode, we share practical legal tips and real-life examples to help you run your pharmacy with confidence. I'm your host, Sarah Stoddart. Thanks very much for joining us. Today, as I sit in Queensland with temperatures significantly reduced on weeks gone by on the back of Tropical Cyclone Alfred, which devastated parts of the state recently, I'm thinking about what can occur in business that distracts us or takes us away from our day-to-day work, and also how we can be prepared for those events. So they say that life happens when you're making other plans, and we all have examples of events that blindside us while we are making other plans. Pharmacy and healthcare businesses are no exception to that. So you may recall, or you will recall, the 60-day dispensing announcement that happened in 2024 and the impact that that had. But there's also other events that create chaos and distract us from what it is that we're meant to be doing. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can take steps to minimize impact of unexpected events and how they affect your business and those around you. So, thinking of an unexpected event being perhaps the departure of a key employee. So that can have detrimental impacts on your business, cause disruption, communication issues, and a dip in team morale. But to manage that and to manage it before it occurs, you can be doing things like communicating with your team regularly and ensuring that systems and processes are documented rather than living in an employee's brain. You also should ensure you have an excellent employment contract in place, which deals with regular reviews, appropriate notice periods, handover processes, and enables you to direct an employee to take leave so that you're not left with a huge leave liability if and when someone does decide to exit your business. So you can't hold on to employees forever, but you can certainly take steps to minimise the impact of their departure on your business. Other unexpected events which can and do arise, illness or death of a business partner. So regardless of whether a partner becomes ill or passes away, the impacts of their loss are the same. There's financial loss, there's emotional harm, distraction, uncertainty. You need to have appropriate insurances in place, appropriate estate planning, and of course, if you're in a partnership, a well-drafted partnership agreement, and if you're in a shareholding arrangement, a shareholders agreement. Those documents will, I promise you, minimise the impact of these events because they set out a process for how you're going to manage these events, and those processes are determined before the event happens and when everyone is getting along, thinking rationally, etc. So don't leave it until it's too late. Determine what will happen if a partner becomes ill or dies whilst they're alive and well. Staying on the topic of death, which I know is a bit morbid, but pharmacy owners aren't immune from it. So the impact of an unexpected death of a sole pharmacy owner or from a partner can be immense, and it can also impact on your family. So what can you do to reduce the impact? Well, as I mentioned, put an estate plan in place and communicate your business processes and procedures to your team. In regards to death specifically, you should know who will step into the business on your passing and make sure they know how to run the business and the steps that need to be taken immediately. Now, some of those steps are, of course, advising the state regulator and the Department of Health because there are timeframes that do apply for those notifications, and to transfer an approval number into a different kind of approval number as a result of the death. And that needs to happen within 12 months of death. So when you think about the grieving process and then the estate process, 12 months isn't a lot of time, and it's important that whoever is dealing with what's left behind knows about those timeframes and acts accordingly. The last kind of unexpected event that I wanted to touch on for this episode is partnership dispute or ownership dispute. So when they arise, and they do arise, and becoming more frequent, I suppose, nowadays as a result of various factors, including cost of living pressures, absent owners, and also marital breakdowns, which, even if it's not your own marriage, can impact on your business ownership. And that's worth thinking about given the statistics on marriage breakdown in Australia. So where a partnership dispute arises, there can of course be financial loss, relationship breakdown between the partners, and general business disruption. That tends to flow down then to the employees in the business and can cause a general sense of angst. So if you're entering into an existing partnership, you need to do a thorough due diligence and ensure you're a proper fit for that relationship, that partnership relationship. If you are already in a partnership or whether you're entering into one, you need to ensure there is a partnership agreement in place and that all scenarios are covered off and agreed. The agreement, whether that's a partnership agreement or shareholders agreement, commonly it would be a partnership agreement, those terms of that document need to be appropriate for your circumstances. And they should also be negotiated while the relationship is strong, because typically a partnership relationship is at its happiest or strongest at the beginning. After that point in time, there can be curveballs that come along that test the relationship. So it's good to think about things and be quite open and frank with your discussions with your business partner while things are good, rather than in times of distress and uncertainty. And as I mentioned, marital breakdown is a big one, and you should think about what the impact of a marital breakdown will be on the business, particularly if the pharmacy business is the major asset of the relationship, because that is often the case and can cause problems. So to close out this episode, I'll say that the will to succeed in business is important, but what's more important is the will to prepare. So I would encourage you to do something today to minimise the impact and the risk of unexpected events on your business, be it whatever that business is. Thanks so much for listening. I'm your host, Sarah Stoddart, and please remember to calm the farm.